Okay, Council President, committee members, and participants, we are now live.
Thank you and good morning. We're going to get started now. But before we begin the public hearing, I'll make the following announcement. Due to the continuing threat to public health from COVID-19, City Council committees are currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at public hearings of council committees are included in the public hearing notices that are published in the Daily News, the Inquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the hearings, and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come. Mr. McDermott, will you please call the roll to take attendance, and members that are in attendance, please indicate by saying you are present.
Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Brooks, you are muted, but I will acknowledge you as present.
Thank you.
Councilmember Driscoll. Councilmember Gautier.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, all of our partners, and everybody watching. Present.
Good morning.
Councilmember Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilmember Harity.
I am present.
Good morning.
Councilmember Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilmember Jones.
Mr. President, colleagues, Philadelphia, I am present.
Good morning.
Councilmember Lozada.
Good morning, everyone. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Phillips.
Good morning, Philadelphia. Good morning, Council President. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilmember Squilla. Councilmember Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the listening public. I'm present.
Good morning.
And Councilmember Vaughn.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Right. The quorum of the committee is present, and the hearing is now called to order. This is the continued public hearing of the Committee of the Whole regarding bills number 230144, 230145, 230146, 230147, 230148, 230149, and resolution number 230162. Mr. McDermott, please read the titles of the bills and resolution.
Bill number 230144, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2024 to 2029 inclusive. Bill number 230145, an ordinance to adopt a fiscal 2024 capital budget. Bill number 230146, an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2024. Bill number 230147, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Taxes by revising certain tax rates under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 230148, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority Tax on Wages and Net Profits to provide for the continuation of the tax and to make other conforming changes, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 230149, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes by revising certain tax rates under certain terms and conditions. And resolution number 230162, providing for the approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia covering fiscal years 2024 through 2028 and incorporating revised changes with respects to fiscal year 2023, which is to be submitted by the mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority pursuant to the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement authorized by an ordinance of this council approved by the mayor on January 3rd, 1992 by and between the city and the authority.
Thank you. Today, we continue the public hearing of the Committee of the Whole to consider the bills read by the clerk that constitute proposed operating and capital spending measures for fiscal 2024, a capital program, and a forward-looking capital plan for fiscal years 2024 through fiscal 2029. This morning, we will hear testimony from the Register of Wills, the City Controller, and the City Commissioners. And this afternoon, we will hear from SEPTA, the Water Department, and the Defenders Association. Mr. McDermott, the first person to testify is?
Register of Wills, Tracy Gordon.
Thank you. And good morning, Register. Please proceed with your testimony.
Yes. Good morning, President Clark and members of the City Council. I am Tracy Gordon, Register of Wills and Clerk of Orphan Court. Joining me today are Emilio Di Gregoria, Deputy of Government Affairs, and Errol Dica, my Finance Director. I'm pleased to provide testimony on Register of Wills fiscal year 2024 operating budget. Our plans for fiscal year 2022, with the additional funding request of $225,000. The Register of Wills Department plans for fiscal 24 are to continue the public outreach for the Probate Deferment Initiative program and add additional team members to our PDI unit. Thank you for your continued support and consideration of the request. I'm happy to take any and all questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your abbreviated testimony. We appreciate it. Registered last budget session, in the conversation, I believe it was then former member Councilman Dom had talked about the relationship between your office and the Realtors Association and other similar types of professional organizations dealing with real estate. And I know that you were one of the early individuals in office that were talking about the very troublesome problem that we experience in the city, i.e. the Tangle title. What is your interaction and relationship with the Realtors Association or any other organization that deals with real estate and has an opportunity to deal with people and the challenges associated with their titles, if any?
So we've dealt with what's called the Realtors Association, and that's Association of Black Realtors, and we have joined partners with them and just educating them on the process of transferring generational wealth. And so we've outreached to them and the realtors just as we've outreached to you and the government and every funeral directors and anyone, even the banks. Anyone that has any dealings with the transfer of generational wealth. And so we have had several meetings and I've trained them and their staff, and we definitely keep open communication with them as it refers to the Tangle title issue. I've had a very close relationship with realtor companies. We have an open door policy where they can get directly to my deputy over there in the probate department. We set up our whole entire operation where not just the bankers and realtors, but any business or government entity that needs information and needs to get stuff done, things done. We've had open communications with them, and we're planning other meetings as well.
Great. Yeah, and thank you for the relationship that we form utilizing the NPI Neighborhood Preservation Initiative dollars. We really appreciate that, and the marketing and ultimately implementation. I
wanted to thank you all too, Council, especially you, Councilman President, and y'all don't know the history that we are making here. Philadelphia is the only city in the country that has an initiative that is addressing Tangle titles, what they call it air property. We're the only government agency that has even put forth an initiative, and you were featured. Your neighborhood preservation initiative was featured at Harvard University. I want to get you all those links. Wakefield University, they just sent me a link that said that their state university is starting an heirs property link. So what we're doing here in Philadelphia is no one's doing it. The fact that y'all put that in that neighborhood preservation, $7.6 million that's going to those legal agencies, you do not realize the impact you are making on those agencies and their ability to give more services. So it is a start. It's a big start, and we are unique. We're setting trends that nobody else in the country is setting.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah, too frequently people, cities, municipalities have talked about the various challenges, but never put the resources on the table to deal with it. And I just want to say how happy we are to be able to work with you on that
It's a
issue.
legal process, and you
Yeah.
know, it's a fine line on what we can do as a government agency, as a register of will, and that's disseminate the information so they can possibly do the process themselves. But when it comes down to the tangled title, the difficulty and the levels of intermediary estates that have to be open is a legal process. And people in Philadelphia, we own the properties or have our ownership interest, but we don't have the knowledge to be able to technically untangle the titles. And that $7.6 million is really starting with the banks. And what we need to tell the realtors, and what I want to do, take it on another level. And our Councilman Curtis Jones is getting ready to introduce. We're going to have a hearing about that. But I want to say that whenever real estate is transferred from one person to another, that they get information. And they get information about the importance of making a will so they can protect their generational wealth, which would avoid the tangled title altogether. So when Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, by the way, that bill that you introduced that made it the funeral bills have to be required to give them the information about that. That's the only legislation in the country that anybody has ever did that. Not that they mentioned her name as well on that and at Harvard University when I went a couple weeks ago about our programs.
Awesome. We gotta get a IE to do some commercials about some of the positive things that we've done in the city of Philadelphia, because there are a lot of good things that have been happening. So I want to thank you so much for your work, for us working together on this very important issue. Any members of council have questions, comments? Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Register. Thank you for your team's elevation of several issues germane to your office. I knew about tangled titles, but I did not know the extent that it impacts inner city neighborhoods and drains wealth from those same neighborhoods. And so when you did workshops in my community, and I was at one of them, and the hands started going up about these kinds of questions of grandma's property 2 generations back after she came up from down south, but did not have things in writing. And what that meant to the son and then a grandson who later occupied that house. It came real in my office when people left out of court in tears because the property they thought they owned, they did not have clear title to. And the rippling effect that means when President Clark puts in money for basic systems repair and they aren't eligible for those repairs because they don't own the property. So the gift that keeps on ungiving is tangled title. What I want to talk about though is and I really try now not to story steal, making everything about my own experiences. But my brother passed away, competent young man, professional, worked for PHA. President Clark had a house and drove a Jag, so he wasn't doing too bad. But as he got ill, he wound up staying with us, and we were trying to get his affairs in order. And he was so reluctant to put things on paper, to give all of the details until he passed away. And then all of that responsibility was left on me. And all of the things that we discovered in that process was from 20 years ago, he was still married. And that all of the planning that we thought was going to happen, it was left to his legal wife. And now, fortunately, she was a good person and really wanted to make sure that the kids got their fair share. from different marriages. So we were grateful that she was a fair, level-headed, and not so greedy person, but it could have turned out very differently. People who had been his partner since the separation were told, you have no legal grounds. So what happens when people die? We see them at their best, and sometimes we see families at their worst. What are you doing to encourage more people putting their last will and testament in writing and following those wishes for the public?
Well, year to date, we have 75 events this past year, and we just started our Will Blitzes in February, in which we've done about 8 to 10 events, and we're looking really to scale the initiative up. The unique part about our education of events, and we track them all over the city, is I have now incorporated in all of my lectures and all of my events to educate people on what a will is. Because you can tell people to make a will, or you can go to an attorney and tell them to make your will. But if you don't know the 8 components that's in a will, then to me, that's a missed opportunity to educate people to know why it's necessary that there's a date on there, why it's necessary that who's the executor? That person has to be the person that has to be very responsible. That's the person that you trust to conduct your business because you're dead, and explain to them why you don't have to have a 2 witnesses or a notary, but it's best practice. So when they go to the attorney, I'm teaching people how to do the will themselves until they can get to the attorney. And then we also referring them out. We referred over over 1,000 the constituents over to Community Legal Services, the agencies that was able to get to $7.6 million and hire more paralegals. So by the time they get over to them, they just giving them the scenario and instructing them on how they want to leave their last will and testament. And I will tell you, I was just at an event in Germantown the other night, and I'm telling you, people are very eager, and people need this information like never before, because it took years to get to 11,000 tangled titles. That is a blemish on the city. We could, with a stroke of a pen, and we can talk about this later, we can make we can break records of making people first-time homeowners, the people that are living in those dwellings, and we're making plans to do that. Because at the bottom line is, the fact is, this is not just a job of a register of wills. This is a job of a total city government. The state is now involved. They just started a state board of register of tangled titles. They just appointed me on that board. I just told you in Wakesville up there in Pittsburgh, they finding out that they're tangled titles. We're bringing the convention, the Register of Wills convention is going to be here. You're all invited to come for a week. And the subject is tangled titles. We are making it an issue locally here. And I thank you all for putting the money, because it's money or it's political will.
So my observation is that in my neighborhoods, the number one investment that most people make is their house. So that tangled title issue is important. Let me shift, and my final question is that a part of your responsibilities is preservation of important documents, such as marriage licenses, titles, things like that. And when you first came on, some of those titles and important documents that show when the charters were given for property in Philadelphia were in deplorable condition. How have you have you been able to modernize that document storage area, and how are you doing that?
Yeah, and thanks to you all. Thanks to Council President for putting that a little allotment in our budget now. We just put up an RFP. It was bidded out, and someone won the bid. And now we are in the beginning stages of the initiation to digitize. I wanted to tell you by law, the law says that we have to keep these wills and all these documents into perpetuity, meaning I can never destroy the paper ones. We can't, never. So I guess the forefathers didn't anticipate the storage or deterioration. So what we're going to do is make sure that we have a plan, a professional plan, because these documents are in spaces in the basement of City Hall, on like the 9th floor, and some are out in the storage room out in Spring Garden. And so there has to be very careful planning and professionalism, because some of the conditions of these rooms where these documents are, they have to be environmentally safe to go inside those, and you can take a tour. So we are starting the digitization of these documents because by law. And so we're going to need a lot more money, because I think that we should put forth, and I have put forth letters out to former Governor Wolf, letting them know the severity of the problem, along with sending a video that we recorded where we could have possibly lost important historic documents during the time of the insurrection, and they broke out all our windows, and through the Molotov cocktail, it went and burnt down Starbucks. Had they threw it inside the windows of City Hall, that's why I was calling you, Councilman Curtis Jones, that they say and get the cops down there, because we would have lost historic documents. So yes, because of you all approving that budget, we have begun the process. We don't know the amount, but we know it's millions of what I consider artifacts. We have documents that's older than the government itself, older than the Constitution itself. And in the Constitution, they say that we cannot destroy any of these documents physically.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Harity.
Hey, thank you, Council President. Thank you, Registrar. I only got a couple of simple questions for myself, actually. Approximately how many Tangle titles do you think are in the city of Philadelphia?
So we'll send you a link, but according to the Pew Charitable Trust, they have documented and have the addresses of 11,000 of them that are spread out all over the city, but most of the concentration are in North Philly, South Philly, Southwest Philly, South Philly, Germantown, and Lower Northeast. Those are where they are very heavy, and we will send you the maps as well, so you can actually see where they are.
That's great. And how many?
Because if you don't have a will, and you live and you own property and assets, and you don't have a will right now, you are a potential Tangle title.
Yeah, that's definite. I actually, I was with you when you were explaining to a senior group out in West Philly and Winfield. Actually, also would like to get some of the pamphlets you have with the makeshift will on the back that we could actually help some of our constituents with. And the other question I have is about approximately how many people have you helped with the Tangle titles since you started helping people with them?
So to date, on record, 45 families now own their homes. 6 of the 45 families that have been untangled that came through our office, we did it via pro se. No legal services was needed. It was just simple as following instructions. Currently, we have 348 open inquiries that we are monitoring via case management, and we have referrals. We've sent 260 to our legal nonprofit partners. And that's a lot of families. That's a lot of families. And, it's not really a one-stop shop with the Tangle titles, because you can have a Tangle title that's really easy. Like, it's just me and my brother, and my mom just died, and the house is still in her name. So they cooperate with one another, and they go through the process. They have the fees. Or it could be, this is my great-grandmother's house, and it's still in her name. And then she has 6 kids, and they have 6 kids and 2 died. So that's where the legal technicalities come in at. All the intermediary estates that we're learning. And so, my job is not to untangle the title because it would be a conflict of interest. What we're doing here is giving people the information to, one, prevent becoming a tangled title. And then if you are in a tangled title, we are explaining to you all what it is so you can understand the process. And then we can take and refer you to these legal agencies. And we also can refer you, because some people can't afford to get an attorney. We refer them to, the Bar Association, and they will be able to help them. But mainly, we had in 2022, we had 6,352 estates. 3,781 of them was administrated, where they had to come before me and I had to sign because there wasn't a will. And then it was 2,571 actually came in with wills. So that's the good news, So we have to date, we did almost 2,000 estates we probated, and out of them, 1,000 administrations that I had to assign administrators for, and 770 of them have wills. And I will probably be able to say that and all the decisions that I've made as a register, as it regards to who we assign as administrators, et cetera, none of our decisions have been overturned by the Orphans Court.
That's great. So it's definitely good for the families to be able to keep that house and that intergenerational wealth in the family. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you, Registrar. Appreciate
Also,
you.
I wanted to let you know, we're in the process of organizing another training for all the new council members who came on board. We have a 1-hour course where we train all your staff and give you all the information and all the paperwork. All the flyers we have electronically, and they're already, you just ask for the printer. We send them to you electronically, and you just, when you order your supplies, you just go down there. They already have the blueprint, and you can just tell them to send you, all the whatever flyer you want that you want to take out when you go do your outreach. You can order them from Central Duplication.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Although I did steal 2 of your employees, so my office is pretty knowledgeable of your
Yes.
your stuff.
Yeah.
But thank you,
One of my
thank you for your
attorneys, by the way.
service. And Council President, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Hey, thank you very much. Hey, good morning, Tracy. How you doing today?
Good morning, Councilman. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Just real quick question. I was trying to get some clarity. So explain real briefly about this, the probate part of the Register of Wills office, and somehow people get liens on the title and you have the ability to waive those liens. And so could you just give us an idea what that process look like?
Yeah.
How many
Okay.
numbers on how many titles does have liens and how many have we waived in that process?
So I'll get you the data on the waive, but I'll explain it to you. The fees are required by the state.
Yes,
So
like
they're the ones
500,
that,
right? What's the
yeah, well, it depends on how much the estate is worth, but it's roughly like that, 400, $400. It depends on the estate, and those fees are set and established by the state. Those are the states. Those are the fees that they establish. And in my probate deferment initiative, we have, we have the ability to completely waive it. They can fill out a hardship, and then it can be waived. They can say they have a hardship, or a lot of times when people are coming to get out of the tangled title, they're coming so they can sell the property. So if the property is sold, then we want the required fees if they're making a profit off it.
Okay.
But if they are not, have no intention of ever selling the property, and they're just living in that property, and their kids are going to live in the property, as long as they're not selling the property, we don't ever require any of the fees. And if they have an undue hardship, we have ability where we can waive it, and I have waived several of them. When it comes down to the waiving of the transfer of the title fees, Commissioner Leonard is waiving those fees, and those fees are very minor as it relates to the cost of the legal costs. The average cost to untangle a title is $6,000 legal fee. That's totally waived. So that is, yes, I do have the authority to waive fees, but I still have to make sure that, I follow the law.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman. And by the way, your
You're welcome.
area, it really don't have as many as the areas that I mentioned, but there is a section of your area that is dark, and they need help as well. So I would like to come and join you so I can actually explain it to them. And by the way, a few of the people who have went through our program, they came in. I think we had like 4 to 5 that came in and just paid their fees off. They had the money.
Good. Okay. All right. I'll make sure my team do a follow-up, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. I think that concludes questions for this particular witness. Madam Registrar, I want to thank you very much for your continued work and look forward to continuing to work with you in as aggressive way as possible to deal with this very, very challenging issue, i.e. tangle title and all the other aspects of what you do in your office. Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, and have a nice day to everybody.
Thank you. We will. Next up, Mr. McDermott, we have.
Our next witness is Charles Edisherel, Acting City Controller.
Good morning.
Good morning, President Clark.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. It's not my style. So please proceed with your testimony and we'll follow up with questions.
Okay. Good morning, President Clark and members of City Council. I'm Charles Edisherel, Acting City Controller. Joining me today are Karen Robinson, Deputy Controller of Pre-Audit, Andrew Rose, Administrative Services Director, Nick Hand, Director of Finance, Policy, and Data Unit, and Leif Erickson, our Chief of Staff. I'm pleased to provide testimony on the Office of the City Controller's fiscal year 2024 operating budget. First, let me say it is an honor to be here, and I'm proud to serve as Philadelphia's Acting City Controller. I would also like to thank each of the employees in the Controller's Office who continue to provide exceptional service to the citizens of Philadelphia. They are to be commended and congratulated for the work highlighted in my testimony and their endurance as we continue to navigate this next year together. The Mayor's proposed fiscal year 2024 operating budget for the City Controller's Office is $11,648,245, including the school district single audit fee reimbursement, in addition to the appropriations from the general fund. These resources are used almost exclusively for salaries of personnel. The Controller's Office has 4 main divisions: audit, pre-audit, investigations, and finance, policy, and data unit. Our audit division is the largest division and completes the audit work as required by the Home Rule Charter, including the single audit and annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR audit, for both the City of Philadelphia and the School District of Philadelphia, department audits, and performance audits. The pre-audit division works with different city departments, state, and federal agencies to ensure that payments are authorized and accurate before being paid by the city as required by the charter. Pre-audit engineers review work order and invoices for capital project, as well as inspect on-site to ensure the work is completed in accordance with the outlined scope. The Finance, Policy, and Data Unit reviews revenue from taxes, as well as works to make data more accessible and understandable to all. The Investigations Unit receives tips or complaints from across the city from both constituents and city employees. They look to address these individual issues while keeping an eye for larger systematic and institutional problems. FY23 has been a very busy year for the City Controller's Office, with several challenges besides 2 controllers resigning to run for elected office. The most pressing issue was wrapping up the FY21 and FY22 audits. These audits were much larger and more in-depth than in the past as a result of the additional federal money that was given to the city and school district to fight COVID and then help with stabilization and recovery toward the latter part of the pandemic. This additional money required additional audit scrutiny. In December of 2022, the office completed the FY21 departmental audit. This is a review of every department in the city to determine whether management has suitably designed and placed in operational internal controls such as overtime and sick leave policies to ensure the city's resources are used in a responsible and efficient manner. In February, the FY22 audits of the city and school district of Act First were completed and have issued clean opinions. In March, the FY22 school district and FY21 city single audits, which look at the federal awards expended, were completed and reports were issued. In the coming months, our office will be issuing an evaluation of the IT general controls of the city's various financial systems and general application controls of the Philadelphia Revenue Information System Management, or PRISM system, and the report on internal control and on compliance and other matters in connection with the Controller's Office audit of the city's FY22 ACFR. This will be the office's first chance to report on the new PRISM system. The Finance, Policy, and Data team has been continuing the work of making data and city financial information approachable to all residents. In March, the Controller's Office released Progress PHL, a dashboard that allows Philadelphians to explore and visualize the social and environmental well-being of their neighborhood. We have received a lot of requests from city departments, nonprofits, community organizations, and several city council members to meet and discuss this new tool. We are very proud of the hard work put into this project, creating the first social progress index for a large U.S. city. Another interactive application is the Mapping Philadelphia's Gun Violence Crisis dashboard. It gives location and demographic information for all victims of gun violence in the city going back to 2015. The online user interface allows individuals to filter the data, for example, by age and race of the victim, or if there is a court case, as well as download the data for further analysis with other parameters such as council district. The Finance, Policy, and Data unit also continues to update its interactive dashboard that maps asbestos remediation projects in school district buildings. Using data from the Department of Public Health, the dashboard includes information on schools, the type of work being confirmed, and application date and planned completion date updated daily. The investigation unit has received 165 complaints so far in FY23, of which 75% have been resolved. This is similar to FY22. The investigators look into these complaints, and while addressing the individual concern, they look for broader concerns that can lead to more robust investigation or audit. As we look forward, one of the largest issues facing this office is the same one that is facing the rest of the city: retaining workers. The Controller's Office has a well-established career ladder, taking auditors from an entry-level position, mentoring and supporting them in the work, and growing them to become CPAs and leaders in the field. To help encourage more employees to become CPAs and in an attempt to retain them, the Controller's Office has started paying for 100% of the CPA exam and study materials. This financial barrier can stand in the thousands of dollars, and I'm happy to say that the office has paid for 5 employees to enroll in the classes. We are encouraging more employees to take advantage of this great benefit. For new hires at the auditor trainee level, the office offers hiring bonuses after the first 3 months of satisfactory employment and an additional bonus after 12 months. I appreciate this opportunity to present my testimony. The office will continue conducting the annual audits for the city and school district and the many investigations that will arise. I look forward to working with you in the coming year and supporting the next controller once they are elected and sworn in. My staff and I will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. How are you enjoying it?
I'm really enjoying it. It's a prestigious position, and it's a lot responsibilities involved. And I'm happy to continue the mission of our office.
It'll look good on your resume. You haven't been there long enough to learn that it's sometimes lonely at the top, but it's all good. All right, we're looking forward to working with you. Let me ask you a different kind of question with respect to your traditional responsibility and duties. As you know, as a result of the pandemic and the challenges associated with that, we talk about our fiscal health. We were fortunately able to maintain some level of normalcy to some degree, as opposed to other cities. But a lot of that had to do with the American Recovery Act and a significant level of funding from both primarily federal, but to some degree state resources that were funneled to the city.
Mm-hmm.
Does the controller, in your capacity, and I know this was something that hadn't happened in our lifetime, this level of federal support, had you all having the responsibility of monitoring and analyzing and looking at the federal dollars and how they were spent in the city of Philadelphia as it relates to the compliance put forth by the feds and by our compliance that's in place in terms of how we spend those dollars?
So most of the money came in through federal grants, like Corona Relief Fund, Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Right. So these programs were we looked at through these single audits, which is through these the audit of the federal grants. So as part of the single audit, we looked to see if the money were expended on allowable costs of that kind of matters. So as part of the FY21 audit we completed, single audit, we looked through, we tested those programs for the compliance requirements as, required by the federal government.
So is that a yes?
Yes.
So let me ask you a little deeper. Infrastructure that was not necessarily related to the pandemic officially, but also the reality was it infused a significant level of resources that will get our economy moving. What's the level of involvement as it relates to the audit and analysis of those dollars?
I don't think we looked into the infrastructure or any kind of performance or efficiency of the dollar, which we were more like the single audit requiring whether the funds were expended according to the grant guidelines.
All right. So can you give us on the first question, can you get us the whatever audit documents or a summary of the audits that were done on the American Recovery dollars? Because there was a lot of money that came to the city of Philadelphia through the state. What your analysis was as it relates to how those expenditures happen in the city, and in a proactive way, because I know over recent years the controller has been more than just a audited entity, a little more proactive in terms of looking forward. And can you look at the dollars that have been targeted for the city of Philadelphia as it relates to the infrastructure? And the reason I'm asking you is because you have more of a capacity than we do over here. We're just poor little city council. We got a couple of budget people, but you guys got a whole team over there. And if you could look at the infrastructure dollars in particular, as it relates to the contribution, i.e. grant or direct appropriation, how and where you think those dollars should go and the guidelines established as it relates to the expenditures of those dollars.
Yeah, we can share with you the findings we had from the single audit for any of those related programs. And we'll also can see what we can do on the infrastructure part of it.
Yeah, that'll be helpful for us. We it's a lot of money that's going to be being put out on the street. We want to make sure that it goes to the right places. for the right reason and to make sure that it helps stimulate our economy, which was the original intent of the bipartisan infrastructure historical legislation was passed on the federal level. All right, thank you. You talked about the financial systems for the revenue management system. We want to look at the city, because I know the city in earlier testimony was also talking about upgrading the system through the Opal project. Are you familiar with that?
Right.
What's going to be your involvement in that? Are you guys going to be in a position to recommend how we improve those systems?
I know Karen's our pre-audit unit involves in some of these meetings, and probably could share some if you'd like to.
Good morning. Good morning, Councilman. I'm Karen Robinson. I am the Deputy Controller for Pre-Audit. And in terms of the, you asked reference to the revenue system PRISM. So is that what you, okay. Currently, that system is up and running. We worked with revenue management to put that new system in place and replace the old system that was the TIP system. So yes, that how they integrate that with Opal, that's out. That's not happening right now. But right now we do have a new system. I have to say it is much better than the TIP system. So that the prison system, revenue prison system is great. The post-audit group will probably go in and look at the, how it's working from a systems perspective, but how it's working from expenditure. It's a good system and we're happy with it.
Okay. All right.
And your second part was about Opal. So Opal has not started in terms of that. That piece of it, I don't think they're there yet. I think they're still in the design and all that part. So the controller's office, from an audit perspective, we have not been involved. They're still working with the departments in terms of consoling part and all that. They haven't gotten to the auditing part because they're still working on the departmental parts of the Opal.
All right. When you reference your responsibilities of pre-audit, what is that? The pre-audit.
Okay. We, per the charter, we approve the expenditure to the Treasury, but prior to we approve the expenditure, we sample audit the expenditures from all the city departments. And then in the end, we do a reconciliation with finance. And once we see that the numbers are good, we will approve the disbursements to the Treasury. And the Treasury actually makes the payment. But pre-audit, so we're like proactive. We're the front line of when the expenditure come through the system. We're the ones that get on your nerves when we hold the payment and you're calling over here.
That's you. All right. I was wondering what it was.
Why are we holding the payments? Because it's not compliant. And so until we work it out, we'll hold it until, and then when we approve it, it goes to Treasury and Treasury will actually make the payment.
All right. Okay. All right. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier when we talked about the infrastructure dollars that were coming to the city as somewhat of a pre-audit, I guess, before we approve the expenditures of those dollars. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yes, and I'll work with Charles with that data because yes, my division does the engineers, they do go out and inspect the projects, all the infrastructure projects with the capital dollars. So that money would have been included in some of the inspections. And so when I work with Charles on that end of it, I did understand.
Okay, I got you. All right, well, thank you. I want to recognize Councilman Jones. I'm going to take over briefly. I got to jump off for about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I remember those days when I was director of Minority Business Enterprise Council, and we were doing procurement payments for contractors. There is about 10 steps you have to go before a check is released, and the controller's office is one of those checks. Now, they weren't a boil on the butter progress, but they made sure we didn't do anything crazy by sending payments out that weren't warranted. So I thank you for your service retrospectively. My question is, I met with you and Miss Brady and others on your team before you were nice enough to give me a heads up about your budget. And I raised the question of a monitoring or an evaluation or an auditing system of what the cost of murder was in the city of Philadelphia. Now, bear with me. What that would entail is we don't have a true sense in a number of ways what a murder or even a shooting truly costs the citizens of Philadelphia and Philadelphia as a whole. So from the time of the arrest to the time of the arraignment to the time of pretrial incarceration to the case where a offender might be assigned to the judge, to the jury, to all of these things, and these are direct costs, not to mention indirect costs such as loss of wages for a witness. And so but what I'd like you guys to do, because I think you're uniquely qualified and positioned to do it, is give us in council and give us in the next mayor and give us the city of Philadelphia a wider view of what it really costs. Some prices and expenditures are known. We know how much it costs per day to incarcerate somebody. We know how much to feed that individual. We don't know when that gun goes off in a neighborhood what sets into motion by way of expenditures, taxpayer dollars, to the city of Philadelphia. Now, I raise this not just to know what a assault or a shooting or murder costs. The alternative to that is prevention. So as we start to look at if we choose to incarcerate, or we choose to educate, or we choose to do a lot of the services of employing people to do everything from cleaning up lots and alleys, what those true comparisons, apples to apples on cost are. So I know that's a lot, but I think you guys are best positioned to have those different inputs. And no, it won't be perfect. No, it won't be 100% accurate, but I think it can get us a better sense of what things cost by way of crime and crime prevention. So that was a long question.
Sure. Yeah, we can discuss with our team and see what we can do.
All right, that was a short answer, and I appreciate it. But I really want us to start to look at that, particularly as this body starts to evaluate what some of the boots on the ground organizations on prevention. If you then know, if I'm paying, hypothetically, if I was paying $30 a day, $50 a day for a part-time job for someone who is likely to shoot or be shot, compared to incarcerating that individual for the day, you have apples to apples comparisons about what is the best way for a municipality, state government, or federal government to spend their dollars in approaching crime prevention versus incarceration. So as we start to look at these models, we can better apply resources in a more cost-efficient way. So as long as you understand the question, I don't need the answer today, but I would like your team to consider pulling together that kind of modeling that can give us better insight to to what's going on and what the cost of crime is to Philadelphia. Is that all right?
Yes, yeah, we can, definitely.
Who's next, Mr. Mc? Is there anyone else in the chat, Mr. McDermott?
Councilman Jones, there is no one else in the chat who is queued up.
Okay. Again, since there's no one else in the chat, thank you for your testimony. And thank you, more importantly, for all of those audits. You may think it's not a thankless job. We actually read them, and we actually benefit from what you glean and discover. So thank you for the consideration of the question of the modeling I'd like you to pursue. And thank you. Wait a minute. Is there anyone else in the queue? I think Jamie Goodyear.
That is Councilmember Gautier is requesting a comment or question for the city commissioners who are up next.
Member Gautier, for the next group. Got it. She's early to the next one. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For having us.
Bye-bye.
Mr. McDermott, can you please
Bye-bye.
bring up the next group to testify?
Our next witness to testify is Lisa Deely, Chairwoman of the City Commissioners.
Commissioner Deely, are you teed up?
Good morning.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please begin your testimony.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to register as being present before Commissioner Deely began.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Bass, it is duly noted.
Good morning, Councilman Jones, President Clark, members of City Council. I am Commissioner Lisa Deely, Chairwoman of the Philadelphia City Commissioners. Joining me today are Deputy Commissioner Nick Custodio and Budget Officer Brian Miracle. I am pleased to provide testimony on the Office of the City Commissioners fiscal year 2024 operating budget. First, before I begin, I would like to take a moment of personal privilege to express how sad I am that this will be my last budget testimony, where I will start with, good morning, President Clark. Through multiple mayoral administrations and difficult times in this city, it has been Darrell Clark's steadfast leadership of this council that has seen us through, specifically when it comes to elections in Philadelphia. A lot of people are quick to flock to the limelight when the big elections come. They stand next to me when the national media is in town, but those who follow these things closely know that we could not even have elections in the city if I did not have Council President Clark in my corner the other 50 weeks of the year. So thank you, Council President, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. We are here to request $29,867,275 to fund our operations for fiscal year 2024. This request includes $12,796,957 in Class 100 for employee compensation, $14,390,101 in Class 200 for professional service contracts, election board payroll, and polling place rentals, $1,217,106 in Class 300 for materials and office supplies, and $1,463,111 in Class 400 for computers, furniture, and equipment. The budget proposed by the administration underfunds our department by $749,625. This is mostly in Class 100 for employee compensation. Since we are experiencing the same difficulties as other departments in filling all of our open positions, we are not contesting the administration's proposal. But I wanted to state this on the record in case we have to come back for a mid-year transfer. Even though we still have not had the mayoral primary, the presidential election looms close in the future, and we are preparing now. Really, we have been preparing since December 2020. Fiscal year 2024 contains the municipal general election this November and the 2024 presidential primary next spring. The 2020 primary occurred at the height of the pandemic and required polling place consolidation. Still, we had a turnout of 32.4%, with 348,944 voters casting their ballot. Looking back to a pre-pandemic election, the 2016 presidential primary had a turnout of 40%, with 411,697 votes. This November, we not only have the mayor, the row offices, city council, and city judicial races, but we also have the statewide judicial races, which have been extremely competitive and close as of late. The 2021 Commonwealth Court race went to a statewide recount. There was also a Pennsylvania Supreme Court seat on the ballot. Around the country, Supreme Court races in this current political environment are extremely contentious. The Supreme Court election in Wisconsin earlier this month saw an estimated combined spending of $40 million. So we are getting ready for a very hectic time. Mail-in voting is growing in popularity, and as a result, we are seeing higher turnouts. But as you know, the advent of mail-in voting has come at a great expense to counties around the Commonwealth, and though the state started to provide funds last year, we hope that they continue to do so. The funds are limited to certain categories and do not cover all the additional costs which come with running modern elections. One category that the state does not cover is election board worker pay. This past year, because of the grant, we raised the election board worker and bilingual interpreter pay to the maximum allowed by law and increased the training stipend to $50. While it was not a magic wand solution to the nationwide election board poll worker shortage, we recruited 7,963 election board workers in the 2022 general election and 7,973 in the comparable 2018 midterm election. But anecdotally, the raise has helped retain the workers that we would have lost, and they feel appreciated that we are finally paying them a fair wage for 13 plus hours they work on election day. But if the state were to cut or eliminate the funding, then that is a cost that either the city would have to absorb or the City Board of Elections will have to adjust the pay rate. Thanks to the funds that this council appropriated to us, we have begun to expand our staff. We have created an IT unit, public engagement and language access unit, electronic poll book unit, and expanded the vote by mail and election board units. In addition, we are hiring additional middle management to provide greater oversight and project management and communication staff. Our new GIS director is injecting modern mapping technology into our elections. We can now provide the public with more mapping-based visualizations of election data, like the maps we published last fall of undated and incorrectly dated mail ballots by race, education, poverty status, and more. He is also working with the city's GIS software vendor, Esri, to leverage the full suite of GIS products, which the city already pays for, to support our elections, preventing a need to purchase new products. One such example is that we will be using the Esri suite to support our election day trouble ticketing and tech dispatch using a smartphone app, which will push tickets directly to the text with more information and directions to the polling place. Not all that dissimilar to what you see your Uber driver using. This will replace the old system of radios and Excel spreadsheets. We are pushing the vendor into the development of new features which will put us at the tip of the spear in the use of GIS-powered technology for elections. Once again, using existing software that the city already pays for. Other cities will be looking to us for ideas to copy. We are also now on the cutting edge of mobile networking. As part of our electronic poll book project, our IT staff has shared with other city departments the Network in a Box solution, which allows the tablets to synchronize the voter check-in data. Now, this core technology is being used to quickly install cameras by the streets department to crack down on short dumping. As you all know, with fixed cameras, the dumpers would just move to another site where there was no camera. Now, thanks to the technology that we introduced to the city, streets can just move the mobile short dumping camera on a short notice to the new site. In August, we launched our new website, vote.phila.gov. This new website is not just a name change, it is a complete redesign. The new site replaced the former website that was over 10 years old. The new site is optimized for mobile devices, built on the phila.gov platform, so security will be monitored and maintained by OIT. It has also been adjusted to better accommodate the visually impaired and has a sleek, modern look and feel The new site moves the commissioners from a .com domain to a more secure and trusted .gov domain, which was a key recommendation by Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. We are working with OIT on phase 2, which will add even more functionality along with the companion mobile app. We have also brought back 215-686-VOTE as the official number for all things elections in Philadelphia. As you know, we have been trying to replace our paper poll books with electronic poll books for many years now. They were supposed to be deployed for the first time in the 2019 general, but we have a high bar to meet for testing the equipment, and they are finally ready to go this election. Electronic poll books will allow for faster and more efficient voter check-ins at polling places and for voters to look up their current polling place if they are in the wrong location. It will also shave several days off the counting of mail ballots, as it will allow the staff to quickly cross-reference the ballots that arrived closer to Election Day to ensure that those voters did not vote in person, a key step that we take to ensure accurate election results. It will also allow Philadelphia to implement new voting changes, such as same-day voter registration and true early voting, if we can get that out of Harrisburg. The election board workers received additional hands-on training last fall and again this winter, as well as reviewing it during the normal training seminars. While this is a big change for election board workers, it is a minimal change for the voter. The only difference is before, when they signed in, they signed on a paper poll book. Now they will sign on a tablet, just like when you pay for coffee at Dunkin'. We have continued to prioritize the values of diversity and inclusion, making sure that demographics.
Just like you pay for coffee at Dunkin', like that is the woman of the people.
We have continued to prioritize the values of diversity and inclusion in making sure the demographics of our department reflect the citizens we serve. As of December 2022, our demographics were 61 white, 79 minority, 64 female. The demographics of our recent hires are 5 minority and 4 white. Our department's OEO goal for MWDVE contracts is 15%. Our department's current level is 15%. Language access continues to be a prime focus, and we have hired a Chinese language access and engagement specialist, and in the near future, we'll be hiring a Spanish language access and engagement specialist to translate, engage with the community, and improve our Section 203 commitments. Currently, our staff contains 4 staffers who speak Spanish, 1 who speaks Malayan, 1 who speaks Malayan and Hindi, 1 who speaks Urdu and Hindi, and 1 who speaks Spanish and Italian, 1 who speaks Albanian and Italian, 1 who speaks Bengali, and 1 who speaks Mandarin Chinese and Telugu. I am very proud that this list has grown in the last few years from just Spanish to the laundry list, which I just presented today. And we will continue to grow that list as part of our commitment to language access. In the last year, we passed a motion to expand language access and services in additional languages of Russian, Vietnamese, Khmer, Arabic, Haitian Creole, and Portuguese. In 2022 general elections, we rolled out additional I voted stickers in these 6 additional languages, and voters this primary will see new vote here signs in 9 languages. Lastly, thanks to this council's recognition of our needs and appropriation of the funds needed to outfit our election warehouse and ballot processing center, progress has finally been made. Phase 1, which included camera and security upgrades, rehabbing the office area, fit-outs for the electronic poll book storage and programming, and a modern, secured, and dignified hearing room, was completed before the 2022 general. We are now proceeding to the next phase, which are slated for completion in time for the 2024 presidential general. This should provide us with the best and most secure location to conduct the presidential election and present the city of Philadelphia in the best way to the world. Wrapping up, I would just like to take a moment before I finish to thank our dedicated staff who work every day on site, and we're one of the first departments to return to the office in the city. Without them, there are no elections. I would also like to thank Judges Crumlish, Johnson, and Furlong, who, per the election code, are sitting on the Board of Elections and actually running the 2023 elections, while us commissioners are on the ballot. I appreciate the opportunity to present our testimony, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. But as I turn over the gavel back to President Clark, I really wish he would have heard your opening remarks and the glowing compliments you gave him. Maybe you'll send him a copy so that he can keep that, because it was really good. Very quickly, I want to thank you and your team, Mr. Sabir and Commissioner Bluestein, for being the backbone of democracy in Philadelphia. Very quickly, 3 questions, one for each of you. Where are we on the training of our inside poll workers, machine inspectors, majority inspectors, to look at how many people have taken that training? Because we moved from paper books to electronics, and how successful is that training going? Because we want them to be on top of their game when the polls open May 16th.
Thank you, Council. Because that question has to do with the administration of the upcoming election, I will have to have Deputy Commissioner Custodio answer that question.
Thanks, Councilman. As of last Wednesday, was when we get our updates here. There were 4,242 board workers attended the winter hands-on training with the electronic poll books, and as of last Wednesday, we had 2,033 board workers attended the regular trainings.
When is the next training available, or is that by ward? Do you have a series of upcoming trainings?
Yeah, they're happening every day, and we're also having makeup classes for board workers who missed the winter hands-on training. We have makeup classes scheduled with all that is available on our website.
And that number will update tomorrow at the Board of Election meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Sabir, you have taken on the responsibility of marketing democracy to a younger generation. Can you talk about how you're doing that to get people more plugged in to the democratic process? Commissioner?
You on?
I don't know.
Is Commissioner on?
Okay. Commissioner Bluestein, are you available?
It's just us. It's just me and Deputy Commissioner Custodio and Brian Miracle, our finance.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let them know I did ask them a question. All right.
Yes, sir.
With that, Mr. President, I turn over the gavel.
Thank you, Leader. Appreciate. Thank you for stepping in. Real quick, yeah, there you go. That's a much better shot. I was going to ask that question because we did not see the commissioner on the earlier version of the shot. But thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. I didn't hear your kudos, but I appreciate that long working, not only working relationship, but friendship over the years. We've kind of grown up in government together, and we've had a heck of a run working together. So I really appreciate what you've done. I want to follow up a little bit. It was a question with respect to poll workers and training. Well, let me ask a question because I know we had a challenge at one point in terms of being able to solicit and be able to hire people to work on election day. Have we gotten better on that, or are we getting a better response on our solicitation of workers? Because I know at one point we were actually using people from other parts of the government, the whole 9 yards.
So we are getting better. The pay increase has helped retain the workers that we have. but we have done just a tremendous job working with the schools, and our student poll worker program has increased dramatically. I believe that in this election, we're going to have over 300 students that are going to help us, and it's a timely increase with the students because, as you know, our young folks are much more techie than we are. So we are excited to have so many students. With regard to needing the other agencies and help from the city, that's just because the work amps up so much around election time that help that we require and desperately need, that I don't see that changing anytime soon because we don't have the need to retain that number of employees throughout the year, but we need a lot of help. It does take a village to get this done, especially with 1,703 divisions to stand up an in-person election on election day while simultaneously having a mail-in voting process going on. So we do have a surge staff need. Just the drop boxes alone require, a whole team of people to go out and help us.
Okay, and thank you. And the other question was, I know earlier there was some concern by certain people that had other motives, but the issue with respect to satellite sites for drop-offs of ballots and things of that nature, how are we doing there? Has that been successful, or are we looking
We have had great success with our satellite, with our 24-hour drop boxes. There is a plan. We've spoken about our plan to expand that. The expansion did not occur last year because with the grant money that we did get from the state, it came with some very specific guidance on how we handle drop boxes. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to do it the way that we were required to. So we did accomplish that with the help of that surge staffing that we earlier referenced. Just so everybody knows that when we got that money from the state, it does require us to have the number of mail ballots that we have received online by midnight. So that requires us to make sure that we go to all the drop boxes, we collect all the mail-in ballots, get them all back to our mail ballot processing center and count them all and get that number up online. There is a apparatus in that grant money where they could come back and get that money from us if we don't follow those specific guidelines. So that was a big task for us, and we wanted to make sure that we could accomplish it. And we had enough people in our search staffing component to get that done before we worked on building that out. But building it out is absolutely a priority.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gautier.
Thank you so much, Council President, and good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
First, I just want to share my gratitude to the city commissioners for the critical work that you do. The work of this office is essential to our democracy, as we saw too well in 2020. And we're still seeing the ramifications of that election, both in the reckoning with, the big lie told about the presidential election, as well as with a million ongoing efforts in our state designed to create barriers to voting. During the past few elections, my district saw several important efforts to increase voter access. Last year, I was incredibly excited to see a drop box for mail-in ballots placed at the King Sessom Rec Center. And in 2020, we were grateful for the satellite office at Allen Lock to help Black and Brown voters exercise their fundamental right to vote. So I want to commend you on this work and, encourage all of us on council to support this office to protect what is certain to be another contentious election in 2024. So my questions are, As we continue to see bad actors spread baseless claims about voter fraud in cities like Philadelphia, we know that they are continuing the centuries-long tradition of using dog whistles to strip Black and brown voters of their electoral voice. What are the commissioners doing to reinforce the truth, which is that our elections here in Philadelphia are free and honest and fair? And what more can be done to protect our elections here from bad actors who may try and prevent us from making our voices heard at the ballot box?
Thank you very much, Councilwoman, and thank you for your partnership, especially as you said last year. We were also thrilled to be able to put that drop box at Consessing, and we look forward to more opportunities to work together. As you know, like everything else, we have a responsibility, especially as commissioners, but as public officials, to keep being the voices of truth. And one of the ways in which we do that is, Commissioner Sabir is, fully engaged all the time with the public. Commissioner Bluestein, as well as myself, we are out into the communities. We have a pretty robust social media presence, and we spend a lot of time, as you do, just working on being places where people know that they can come for reliable information. That's why getting our website up to date and expanded and was so important to us. That's why we are working so hard on language access, so that we can get that message across to all communities so everybody can understand it. And we are also need to push back. I mean, we don't have that problem in Philadelphia as much with the other elected officials that we work with, yourself and the other members of council. We're all pretty much, we're all saying the same thing. Elections are fair, they're free, come and vote, everybody be a part of it. Unfortunately, when we get to Harrisburg and even Washington, we have a lot of voices that are not saying that. So we just need to continue to push back, all of us as elected officials, on this constant chant of disinformation and misinformation. It's intentional, and we have to, with the same intention, chant back.
Thank you for that. I think we also need to be doing more to bring new voters into the fold, because we all know that our society becomes more representative and more equitable when more people participate in democracy. So what steps is the Commissioner's Office taking to boost voter participation, especially in working class Black and brown neighborhoods? And what programs do we intend to implement to improve voter access in underserved neighborhoods? As excited as I was about the Dropbox at Consessing last cycle, I know that I still represent neighborhoods that struggle to access voter resources and voter assistance. So I would love to hear from you on those questions.
So we will continue to engage all the communities. As part of our budget testimony, we did mention that we are going to hire some communication staff. The communication staff, along with the language access staff, in conjunction with the GIS staff that we have, it's going to be able to create a clearer picture for us of where we need to be and where we need to, have more education programs and more outreach to those areas. So we're going to use all the tools in our toolbox as soon as possible, up to 24 and beyond, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to engage those communities. We have also expanded, as I said, our student poll worker program by like 200%. And I believe that is a good start, because once we get young people engaged in the process, studies have shown that they stay engaged. So we're really excited about that. So we're going to use, with the great help of council and the budget help that they gave us, we're able to expand our staff to be able to do more and to be able to use technology as a guide to help us find where we should be, so that we're using all of our time most effectively.
Thank you. And would we ever consider a Philly Counts like door-to-door model to help increase voter participation and sort of access to information?
Absolutely. And, we have had, especially through the COVID pandemic, we worked closely with the folks at Philly Counts. They did a great work with us and for us. Part of what we did during the pandemic was we put mail-in ballot information in all the food boxes. Every food box that went out in the city had mail-in ballot information in it. We have replicated that, and we are working with, I'm sorry, it went out of my head. We're working with Share Food, and we're doing the same thing. We continue to get that information out on voting to our our voters throughout the city in all kinds of circumstances. So we're always looking for partners to work with. We do a lot of work with Philly Counts. We were engaging pretty heavily pre-COVID with the Department of Recreation at their movie nights and their cleanups and all that. We hope to get back to that, as well as the boot camp, Councilman Jones's boot camp for the More Beautiful Committee and the people that help us keep our neighborhood clean. So we're going to continue to work through all those ways. And then, like I said, I believe that, this new technology is going to afford us a great opportunity to place us in areas where we definitely need to be.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Good afternoon, Council President. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you can hear me clear. First of all, thank you, Council President, for the opportunity. Thank you to our commissioner that's here with us, as well as our other commissioners. I personally just appreciate all the work that you all have done. I know Commissioner Sabir specifically and I were sworn in together. Commissioner Daly, you are already here. But I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. What you've done, at least in my first term in City Council, is historic, is legendary, and it's something that I'll never forget during my time as an elected official. So thank you to you and your team, your staff, for all the great work you do. Just a couple things on my end. The first thing is, Commissioner, you briefly mentioned language access. My office had the pleasure to work with you and your team for a long time to put us in a position to get that small victory. Can you talk a little bit about some of the work that has been done around language access and approximately how many people we feel like will be impacted because of this great work?
So the language access, as you know, it is a prime focus of ours, and we thank you so much. You and your staff worked closely with us to get us even to this point. So we are we did hire a Chinese language access and engagement specialist who's working primarily with those communities to engage them and to educate them on voting procedures. And we are in the process of filling that position for a Spanish-speaking person. We continue to work. We passed a motion to add 6 additional languages to our materials that we hand out, and we are also going to work with your office on a group of people that will get together to decide, how we're going to go forward, what steps we're going to take to continue to build out language access, because it is indeed a big priority of ours. And this election, you're going to see it in primary vote here signs in 9 additional languages. And the steering committee, the language access steering committee That is, you can find information, the citizens can find information about that on our website, and we are currently taking applications.
Thank you, Commissioner. And also want to say thank you to all the advocacy groups who was a part of that process as well, who really advocated strongly for this work. And I'm sure that they're happy that they're seeing their efforts start to actualize. So thank you. Commissioner,
Thank you.
I reached out. No. Last thing, Commissioner, I reached out to you before as the chair of the Education Committee. And you and I basically had a brief level of communication as it relates to some of the school closures that we're facing and the impact that can have on the primary election. Now, I know we're still working on creating a list of all of our polling places, but I just want you to talk for a minute just to ease the anxiety of the public, because I know you're on it. We've had this conversation. We're talking to the district, but just make sure, just talk a little bit about school closings and the impact that could have on this election if we're not proactive in coordinating our efforts to assure that this is a fair and safe election.
Councilman, because that question is specific to the upcoming election, Deputy Commissioner Custodio will answer your question, okay?
Thanks, Councilman. Our polling place staff have a very good working relationship, not just in this year, but in the last several years with the school district. As you know, we have a large number of polling places in school buildings. They are in constant communication regarding schools that they find asbestos in or other issues. We usually find out pretty much in real time when they find out, and we've been working with them to find alternative locations. I know the school district is putting a priority on it right now. To do inspections. So there may be some last minute polling place changes. We will work to communicate that to the voters of Philadelphia. But us, like the school district, are committed to providing the safest environment for voters of Philadelphia to cast their votes. We should release our final polling place list this week. But as I said, there may require some last minute emergency changes like we see almost in every election. So.
Thank you, Nick. And of course, my office is here to support you as usual. So when you get that final polling place list, we will make sure that we're also in communication with the district, and we know you will as well too, to ensure that again we're taking every precaution that's needed, not just in this election, but every election, the November election, next year's election, last year's election. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you all. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues. And thank you to our amazing city commissioners.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions for these witnesses by members? They're seeing none. Commissioner and your team, thank you very much for your testimony. We really appreciate the hard work. Look forward to making sure that you have the appropriate resources as we move through this democratic process, also known as elections. Thank you. Kudos.
Council President, God bless.
Thank you. That concludes our testimony for the morning. With the Register of Wills, City Controller, and City Commissioners, we will recess until 1:15, at which time we will reconvene to hear testimony from the SEPTA, the Department of Water, and the Defenders Association. See you all very shortly. Thank you.